How can we tell the difference between you eat and you eat? Right? It's a youngling, so they have to be different. You eat is a fact, right? Eat is a command. So when we use this imperative, most of the time things look the same. But what about if I want you to be good? What if I want you to be something? Do I say are good because you are? Or does this have to change?可以说 are good. 要说什么？ but then it's indicative. If we ask a question, it's still this grammar, still this mood. Be good. Okay. So the imperative has a bit of a different grammar. Okay. So we have the indicative, the imperative, and there's really just one more that matters for our grammar, and that's the subjunctive. And that is really for wishes and impossible conditions. Okay. When we use something like, 很重要的 wish and hope 不一样，他们的文法很不一样。Okay? So if somebody is sick, never say, I wish you get better. 因为你的意思说，不可能。All right? Let's say impossibilities. All right? When we say something like, I wish I were rich. And this is one place where I know the textbooks usually mess it up. 有没有说 wish 后面用过去式 This is 错 This is not the past tense. This is the present tense. I don't want to be rich in the past. I want to be rich now. Right? I wish I had a car. This is not yesterday. This is today. So the thing is, these moods have their own different grammar. And that makes them important to understand. I wish I had a car. Right? I don't have a car. And for impossible conditions, if I had a car, I could drive to school. It's not really true. I'm afraid to drive in Taiwan, so even if I had a car, I wouldn't drive. But for the grammar, if I had a car, I could drive. I don't have a car, so I can't drive. Again, though, this is still all in the present. So one thing about this is how do we make it the past tense? 因为它是现在式、过去式呢？过去式。as a child, I wished, I can put out of that, hat. I had a car. Or we can even keep this in the present. This part doesn't make a difference. Right now, I wish about the past. Right? I remember. It works the same way. I remember that I had. That I went. So I wish I had a car. It looks strange, eh? What if we put it here? If I had a car, I could have driven. That's too many hats. Let's make it simpler. If I had studied, I could have passed. If I studied, I could pass. I don't study, so I fail. If I had studied yesterday, I could have passed yesterday. I didn't study, so I didn't pass. Okay? So, this has other ways that we'll see it, but mostly it's just for these wishes and impossibilities. So, remember that a wish in English is 没有办法，不可能. Okay? Every time we use a verb, it has that and that and that, and then the voice thing goes with your other question. So, this I can erase, yeah? Okay. Now, when we talk about voice, there's only two. There's active and passive. And in the active sentence, I study English. What we have here, the subject of the verb is the subject of the action. So whatever the action is, whatever you do, the subject in the grammar, the subject of this verb, is the subject of the action, the thing that does the action. But with the passive, we have the opposite. The subject of the verb is the object of the action. Okay, so whatever the action is, I study English, right? The cat bites the dog. The boy teases the girl. Whatever the action is, as long as there's an object, then we can turn the sentence around. Right? 我教你们，对，我教. Okay? Now, this is actually really simple because it follows a very basic formula. So, what we see here is, I'll write this out more clearly. I study English. There are a lot of ways that you'll see this, but just like in Chinese, we don't use it really a lot if we don't need it. 每个句子有主题，所以可以说啤酒不可以喝，不用说啤酒不可以给我们喝，因为我们都了解啤酒不可以当主词，它一定是受词，所以没有这个问题。So you don't really need the passive most of the time. But in English, we can't do that. If we say beer can't drink, then beer is the subject, right? So what really happens here is to go from active to passive, your subject, you don't really need to keep it. And if you do, you just add the word by, right? This by, almost all the time, by will mean passive, unless it's a place. So for example, I stand by the door, right? If it's clearly a place, 地方的意思不是跟它一样, right? But otherwise, almost always this will mean passive. The object